I love Turnip28. It's a fun setting to make weird little guys for, and the game is excellent. I've made a lot of troops for the game over the past couple of months, but I'm running an escalation league, which is the perfect excuse to bash together some new freaks. Playing around with green stuff, I came up with the idea of these guys wearing pots and kettles, something I figured I should be able to sculpt. In hindsight, I'm sure this idea actually came from Noé. He made a teacup-based regiment already. I'll link his channel in the description. I decided to push forward with the already sculpted heads, creating this unit of fodder. I figured I could make the rest of the regiment weird in a different way. My own spin on the theme. If you're new to Turnip28, there are several factions, called cults, each one manipulating the rules in particular ways and adding its own special flavor. My original regiment, for instance, is the Procession of Woe, which I dubbed the Cult of the Toothroot. Taking another look through the various cults, the fungivorous herd jumped out at me. This allows you to take a herd of farm-ish animals as a unit that grows as it passes dangerous terrain tests, and you can force to stampede through other units. Fun, and a great excuse to use these cheap toy animals I had. A few pigs, a donkey, some hippos and rhinos. I started with the pigs. Bastards are a 3-model cavalry unit, so the pigs were perfect. I knew this knight kit from Wargames Atlantic would serve as the base models, once combined with some riding legs. A little trimming was needed for the legs to fit on the pigs, and I wasn't too concerned about precision, as I could cover any areas of overzealous cutting with tufts and grime. If you've never kitbashed before, or generally made weird creations, I truly believe Turnip is the perfect place to start. There's really no way to do it wrong. Anything goes. Plus, it's a dungy, muddy world. Any mistakes can be covered with junk, and it fits perfectly. Like with this donkey mount for my Toff. I wanted to change up the silhouette, make it a little more weird and less donkey. I hacked off the ears and a bunch off the top of the head, with the idea I could cover the smooth area with tufts, then hacked up the mouth to make it easier to add green stuff to, and roughly sculpted a carrot, parsnip, vaguely tuber-shaped snout. If you're looking for minis to use in the game, or for kitbashing in general, I love Wargames Atlantic. All of their kits work together. Put a World War I gas mask on a chivalrous knight. Add a machine gun to a Napoleonic. Get weird. If you're looking to pick some up, head to the link in the description. It is an affiliate link, so purchasing through it costs you nothing and tosses a few pennies into my tip jar. As with the donkey, I wanted to alter these rhinos and hippos. The rhinos suffered some tail removal and a little face reconfiguring in order to add some very turnipy goodness to their snouts. The hippos needed a drastic change. This skeleton cavalry kit to the rescue. I had used the horse skulls on not undead horses, and figured they'd work here. When kitbashing, I try not to think too much and kinda work intuitively. These skulls were pretty small compared to the hippos, but I kept hacking away at the body until the skulls semi-fit. Then used a bunch of super glue and baking soda to fill in the gaps and create an interesting sort of fringe around the skull head. Anyways, this is my favorite way to knock out a bunch of minis in very short order. It's fundamentally my take on the classic base coat highlight wash. I showed this process with more vibrant colors in my first Turnip cult, so let's go more grungy this time. I'll start with whatever I want my shadow color to be. I'm using mahogany here, and cover the entire mini. Now, I'm using an airbrush. I've got the space to do so, and it's an essential part of my workflow. If you don't have one, you could do the next step with a heavy dry brush or a rattle can. I'll grab a brighter color and spray on a fairly heavy zenithal highlight, this time using grunge brown. Grabbing a dry brush, I'll hit the mini with a bright highlight color, primarily brushing from top to bottom, focusing on the upward facing surfaces. Most often I'll use pale yellow or ice yellow for this. It generally works quite nicely as a universal highlight color. Finally, I'll use a wash. I really like using speed paints for this. I just find they run into the recesses without overly tinting the rest of the surfaces. Although I will dilute it quite a bit with speed paint medium, about 7 parts medium to 1 part paint. Then I'll grab a big brush and just drown the mini. Again, mostly working from top to bottom, ensuring the top is brighter than the bottom. For these guys, I'm using Grim Black. The more I paint minis, the more I believe that we're often too precious about it. There are always going to be more minis. You're continually going to have new ideas. Just smush some paint around. Have fun. You don't need to get in your head about making everything perfect. The reality is, the only person looking at your minis for longer than a few seconds, let alone super up close, is you. If you feel like you need permission to loosen up, consider this your permission. Showing up to play games with your buds is so much better with painted minis, even if you feel like you could have done better. Gage, this is for you. Thanks for attending my TED Talk. To this point, I've only spent a couple of minutes per mini, and you could absolutely leave it here and move to the bases. I like to take just a few more minutes, add a few highlights here and there. For Turnip, this will often be the grass tufts and the heads, faces and bases as it were. I wanted to bring attention to the kettles on the heads of the bastards and toff. So I grabbed a brush and painted my sketchy brush strokes, beginning with neutral gray and adding more light gray as I moved up in highlights. I more or less put highlights where they would be for bright metal, in a very basic way, but I don't really think about it too much. Just quickly slashing some marks where they look cool. Finally, to add some punch to the tufts, I grabbed orange and kinda overbrushed it on, essentially using a fairly stiff bristled brush and a dry brush technique without removing nearly as much paint from the brush. Then brushing back and forth on the tufts, avoiding any other surfaces. I've been keeping my turnip bases really simple. The game basically takes place in muddy fields, first giving them a solid coat of golden brown, then washing it down with Seraphim Sepia. Add some black to the base rims, and these dudes are done. And here we are, the beginnings of another Turnip28 regiment. My third. Still need another unit and a couple of toadies, but this is a solid start. Are they perfect? Obviously not. But they look good all together and will look great on the table. Considerably better than grey plastic, and all done in a couple of hours. If you found this in any way helpful, let me know in the comments below. And remember, you are awesome. Thanks for watching.